Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and today we're here in Des Moines, Iowa at the Concours d'Elegance, and we're here with Lauren and his son Rodney, and behind us, oh boy. Lauren, tell us what we have behind us.
We have a 1958 Ford Retractable, hardtop convertible.
And it is beautifully restored, and we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But, you know, every car has, I say every car, has a story about how its owner found it. So, how did you find this car?
Well, in 1961, I was in the military and I decided I needed a car, and I went car shopping at a Chevrolet dealership in Waterloo, Iowa.
And you bought a Ford?
And I bought a Ford. He had a Ford in the back showroom.
Oh, it was in the back showroom, okay.
Yes, at a Chevy dealership. Matter of fact, he had 3 Fords back there, and I purchased the highest priced one.
Well, that's good now, because you borrowed some of Grandma's money to do this.
That's right. I borrowed almost all of it, because in 1960 you didn't get a very big paycheck from the Air Force. But I did get one every 2 weeks.
So you had a steady payment plan.
Exactly.
Okay, so you bought the car. You're the second owner.
Correct.
Okay, and then tell us, you know, how long did you have it? Because eventually it went into storage.
Yes, I started driving it then, and basically in the last day of '61, and we drove it all the way until like 72 or 73, and by then it had 99,000 miles on it. So then it was
to California.
Yeah, 5 trips to California or 4.
Okay.
And that adds up a lot of mileage in California.
Well, sure.
And so then I got married, and it was getting a little sorry looking, so we just put it in storage for 42 years.
Now, you have a story about going to some dances or shows with the convertible top down, and how that was of a benefit to you.
Well, you know, in 1962 approximately, I had a girlfriend that liked to go dancing, and we'd go to the Hollywood Palladium in downtown Hollywood, California on Saturday night, and you pull in there with a convertible, the valet parking would park you right up front. You wouldn't have to go to the back with all the jalopies.
That's great. Let's hand the mic to Rodney for just a minute. So, you know, Rodney, do you have any childhood memories of this car, even when it was in storage, of seeing it, or was it kind of like you didn't even know it existed?
No, in the early 70s, I was old enough at that time, and we used to take rides through the park with the top down, and you could sit in the back on the back trunk deck, and we'd drive through the local parks in the summertime, and of course going to the grocery store for groceries. I mean, it was a daily driver back then.
Okay.
And unique at that.
So you have memories of this?
I do. Yep. I was
Wow.
young and little, but I can remember.
But you actually, okay. That's fantastic.
I don't remember all the trips, you know, going to town when I was a
No,
baby,
but you
of
remember the
course,
car.
but-
This is a car.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Let's step to the front, and we'll take a look at a couple of things here, and then in a little bit, I'd like to take a look at the engine. Okay. So the car has been restored to. Let's see. Let's have you come over here, because we want him to get the front of the car. Okay. So, Rodney, the car is original, right?
Correct.
I mean, this has not been modified.
Part by part.
Okay. Now, I do notice one item I don't think is original, and that's the 2 orange. I don't know if those are lights in the front or. Okay.
Well,
was that your touch?
Those are reflectors, and of course, we decided to show it without a license plate.
Okay.
And there's 2 square holes right there. So Dad thought, well, let's put a little bit of his personal touch to it, and we plugged those 2 holes rather than putting a license plate.
Right.
On it.
And you put. I like it. I think it was a nice choice. I love all the chrome on here. That is just beautiful. Now, you've got a mirror underneath.
Yep.
You must be proud of what's underneath the car, as well as.
Yes, we did. We of course frame off restoration, and then spent a lot of time detailing the underside of the car. So not everybody can get down their hands and knees and look. So we thought maybe a mirror would kind of showcase the bottom of the car.
I like that. I've seen it on 1 or 2 other cars, and it's really fun to be able to see underneath it. Now, can we open the hood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Man, that's clean.
So we started there again. It was kind of one nut and bolt at a time, We purchased some additional shop equipment so we could spend the needed hours to sandblast and recoat all the hardware, locate the right hose clamps and hoses, and really put it back to as original state rather than a modified state. Colors, spark plug numbers, fuel pumps, just all them little details were important.
Okay.
And the correct cap screws and such. So as any car, you can find little things that are just impossible to find. But some of the parts were weeks and days and weeks looking in salvage yards for one little cap screw or one little emblem or something that maybe was in better condition possibly, or maybe something that we didn't have anymore, that maybe got taken off the car.
It takes a long time. How long how many years did it take you to restore it?
Well, we were looking this morning actually and trying to recall some of the timeline, and we're just short of 4 years of putting it back together
again.
After body and paint.
Okay. Wow. So more years than that because you had that body and paint. And we'll talk more about how you did that body and paint. But, man, so original engine.
Original 352 engine, correct.
How much horsepower approximately would have been turning out?
With the factory Holley carburetor,
Ford originally called it 300 horse, but some people think that's inflated a little bit.
Okay.
That's really all we know for certain about.
Okay.
What
sure.
Ford propaganda was 300 horse.
300, and I'm assuming similar torque would be right up there.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. We can close that. Okay, and then let's give the mic back to your dad for a minute. We're going to talk about the paint and how you restored the body panels. So I'll ask you again.
Interior, then do the paint and body since we're already here.
Sure. All right. So, get the leaf out of there. All right. So, Lauren, tell us about the interior because this has been completely restored.
Yes, this interior we purchased from a company out in Massachusetts, and when I first contacted them, they sent patches of different material to us to identify to make sure we was buying the exact replica of what it originally had.
Okay.
And so I sent them back, and I says, "This is what we want." And then a month later, we had the whole new interior pieces. All we had to do was put it together. Which took more than a month.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Now, in the dashboard, did you just clean that up? Are those also replaced parts? Like all the gauges and everything.
The gauges, that's all original, but some of that's been cleaned and some of it's replacement.
Okay.
The knobs, you can buy all them because the original ones really got yellow.
Oh, I'm sure with age.
After 70 years or 60 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so all of the plastic knobs are replaced.
Okay.
The dash itself, the padded dash is replaced.
Okay.
But all of the chrome part, that's all original. Wow. It was just cleaned up.
Huh. And
all the black has been repainted, of course.
Repainted, okay. Did you want to add something? Just grab the mic to do it.
The dash pieces, it was just a matter of sitting down with a small toothbrush and the right cleaner and carefully scrubbing and disassembling and then reassembling.
Wow. That's some painstaking work, but I mean it's turned out beautiful. Now, the chrome insert in the steering wheel, of course, is a horn, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the original. That's never been re-chromed or anything.
That's never been re-chromed?
Just been cleaned up like the rest of the dash.
Wow.
With a toothbrush and polish.
That's amazing, in good shape. Now, you would have had turn signals on the left of the steering column,
Correct.
And then, of course, a shift on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
How many speeds?
3. It's a 3-speed automatic. It's what they called cruise-o-matic.
Okay.
Back in the 60s.
Okay. And let's see, anything else unusual here in the dash? It did come with a radio, but it was AM.
It's got power assist brakes.
And power assist brakes. Oh, that's nice.
A vacuum assist system. Sure. Gives it power brakes.
Wow. Now, you have manual windows. I do love the color and the combination of this car with the black, and then I'm gonna call it white, but it's really sort of an off-white, a cream. But it is really beautiful.
And that's all original, like I come from Ford.
With, all the pattern. I mean, it just looks really elegant.
Yeah.
guess is the word I'm looking for.
Well, I guess, you know, when these were built, Ford was going to call this the top of the line until you got into a Mercury.
Okay. Doesn't surprise me. Now, you had a separate vent window.
Correct.
And then, of course, a separate roll-up and down window. So you had two windows in the front. One of the things that's kind of amazing about this car is the top. And we'll overlay a video, not of this exact car, but a 1 year newer version. And the only difference you'll see is that the Skyliner on the hood, on the Skyliner on the roof is gold on this one.
On a 50.
And on the one that we show you, it's red and it's it's just chrome. All right, but the way these retract, I mean, you've got a button in somewhere, right?
Yeah, well, it's right. Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, so it's under the dash, but that's original, right? That's where it would have been.
This is all original.
And
That particular button is what come right from the factory, and you push it in to make the top go up, and you pull it out to make it go down.
Now, did you have to hold it in or hold it out?
You have to hold it.
Okay,
yes.
so that way if there was pinchy something, you could just take your finger off it. What's interesting is how this folds not only here to fit in the back, and then it expands to go over the roof, but the trunk hood also has that little piece that bends. Because it sticks out like this, correct, when it's covering?
When it's covered.
So it comes up to the seat.
It goes right here.
But then when it folds, it actually
And the roof
tucks in.
comes up to here also.
Wow. So you actually have a little sort of a little back shelf.
We have two back shelves technically.
Yeah, you do.
One by the window and one with a trunk lid.
Man. Now, close that. So, how did you get into cars? Why was this one something you decided, you know what, I'm not just going to sell? Because you had 99,000 miles on it. You had kids. Most of us would have said, okay, time to sell it and get another one. But you kept it.
We got another one, but we stuck it in the barn and kept it. Just because we thought I had a feeling it was unique enough to keep.
Okay. And then your background is more mechanical.
Sure.
So what was your draw? I mean, not all kids would say, Dad, sure. Yeah, let's break that old car out and start on it. Like, no, I've got a cabin and I've got boats and I got other expenses. And
the hard thing, I think, to do was to keep it in storage for 42 years.
Okay.
And then as we go through life and your jobs and how busy you are, at some point in time you look at how old we're all getting, and it's time to start on this or we're going to be too old to enjoy it. So we looked at it and said, we got to do it. So we started tearing it apart, power washing and cleaning, and that's what started the 7-year process.
Okay. So I think it's just really neat that it's it's a father-son project, but B, you actually bought the car.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
way back,
Way back.
Before you had kids, before you were even married.
Yeah, correct. I was in the military a year when I bought it. Yeah. And so I was just used to a monthly paycheck. So I could make a payment.
You could finally make a payment.
So here I go down shopping and bought it. I just stuck my neck out and bought it. The highest price Ford he had in a Chevy dealer.
In a Chevy dealer. All right, let's talk a little bit about the paint and this guy's music for everyone to hear. Okay, so this has been fully restored. So did you do the paint work?
No, we're mechanical, but we're not painting people.
Okay.
And the decision was made that the sheet metal and the paint was
I'm going to have you hold this up just a little closer. There
The
you go.
decision was made to have the sheet metal and the paint done by somebody with experience.
Okay.
I mean, we're mechanics and we do a lot of things, but we don't paint.
Okay.
And we don't weld sheet metal. And this has got a lot of new sheet metal on it.
Okay.
No body putty, just sheet metal.
Sheet metal. Because there was a fair amount of rust, I would imagine.
Exactly. There was a lot of rust.
Okay.
And so there's new parts. And so we hired the paint and the sheet metal. And while that was being done, we had all these interior components to work on in our own shop.
Okay.
And so we did all of that work while the paint and sheet metal was going
So
on.
that would have to mean that you didn't send the car out, you sent the body parts out.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't send the whole car. We just
Wow.
sent the parts. Yeah.
Essentially, the bare shell. The bare shell is what we sent out.
Okay.
We wanted it nice, and we're not sheet metal people, so you hire somebody. You hire an expert to do that.
Expert to do it. Well, I mean, and it's beautiful. I mean, that painting that thing to make it come out nice without orange peel and all that kind of runs. That takes talent. All right, in the very back here, I was commenting earlier that you have the largest trunk with the least amount of storage area.
That's correct.
So inside this metal tub is actually where you can pack things.
If you're going to put the roof down, the only place you can pack anything is inside that tub.
Yeah. Now, of course, if you don't put the top down, we've got
a lot of storage.
You could fit a few Jimmy Hoffas in there.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. And okay, walk us through the where the roof comes down in here and the hydraulics.
This is a screw jack that brings the roof back, and these guideposts on the corners go into the track. As that comes back, then the front folds under and fits on them white pads. I think he's pretty well got that.
Okay. That's so your top is never hitting anything metal.
No, the top sits on them pads. Yeah.
Okay.
And the bottom is supported by this, so it doesn't really touch anything, but 4 points. 2 in the back and 2 on the front is all it touches as it comes down.
Okay, here's just an interesting thing I'm looking at. You got this nice rounded wheel well coming up, right? But then it looks like someone took a hammer at the factory and just kind of smashed it in to make that rest. Or did you do that?
Our belief is all of these retractables were beat in with a sledgehammer at the factory to
That's
make this.
the way it came.
The way it came, because that fender well is the same as a 2-door hardtop.
Okay.
It's the same body
Yep.
part. And so when they decided this car is a retractable, before it got put together, I'm assuming somebody stood in there with a hammer and beat them down so it fit, because all retractables show the same hammer marks.
Interesting. Now the other thing I just noticed is when you close this top, the trunk here, it actually screws into these receptacles.
It's screwed together, yes.
So it's not coming out unless you hit that button and it tells it to unscrew it.
That's right. It's all bolted together solid. In the same way with the top, you got 4 screws, 1 in each corner, that screws it to the frame also.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Boy, much more secure than you see on convertibles today.
Solenoids and lots of wiring.
Yeah,
Lots of
I
wiring.
bet. Let's take a step to the back here a minute. I love these quad taillights here. They've got 2 on here and 2 on there, and then the back up in the middle. But I just like the way that they come out, the way they're shaped.
Something really unique for 58.
Yeah, it was just...
And they haven't done anything like that since either.
Now, I look at this, you tell me you sent out the body to be painted, you kept the frame. That's some big body pieces you had to get off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no break anywhere.
That all goes
back end is one piece except for the last piece there. But
Exactly.
all right, so I have one last question for each of you. You can answer it separately, but what is one of your favorite memories with this car?
Cruising on the beach in Balboa Beach in Southern California.
That sounds like a nice memory. Rodney, how about you?
Well, for me, being the age of the car and the age of myself, that would have been when I was riding on the back trunk deck going to the park. Because, today we're all in seatbelts and things like that can't happen or shouldn't.
Yep.
But back in the early 70s, that was an everyday occurrence or a Sunday afternoon drive.
Sure. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing your story and your beautiful restored car with us. We sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for watching.